Welcome back to the FiteHaus Digital Desk, and I'm your digital host. We have reached the summit, fight fans. The prelims are in the books, the featured bouts have set the stage, and now it is time to close out UFC Houston with the final 3 fights of the main card. We are talking high stakes, title implications, and guaranteed violence. Let's kick things off with a featherweight banger between the always dangerous Dan Ige and the surging Melquizael Costa. Dan Ige is currently ranked 14th in the division, and he is the definition of a battle-tested veteran. Ige has fought the absolute who's who at 145, stepping in there with guys like Josh Emmett and Edson Barboza, and his left hook is the stuff of nightmares. When Ige lands clean, opponents go to sleep. But he is facing a very tricky puzzle in Melquizael Costa. Costa brings a much more varied, unpredictable striking attack, utilizing kicks and creative angles to frustrate traditional boxers. The odds makers have Ige as a solid -220 favorite, and it is easy to see why. Ige's durability is legendary. The man simply does not get knocked out. For Costa to win this, he has to fight a perfect 15 minutes from the outside, chopping at the legs of Ige and avoiding the pocket. But Ige is a master at closing the distance. My key to victory for Ige is simple: pressure and body work. If he backs Costa against the fence and rips to the liver, the hands will drop, opening up that signature left hook upstairs. I expect Costa to have some flashy moments early, utilizing his speed to point fight from the outside, but Ige's veteran savvy and sheer power will eventually take over the pacing of this fight. I am picking Dan Ige by a late second-round TKO to defend his ranking and remind the featherweight division that he is still a major problem. Moving right along to our co-main event, we have a welterweight collision that is virtually guaranteed to produce fireworks. We have the number 12 ranked contender, Geoff Handz of Steel Neal, taking on the ultra-aggressive Uros Medic. If you are looking for a fight to go the distance, do not look here. Geoff Neal is stepping into the octagon with one of the most lethal striking arsenals in the welterweight division. His straight left hand is like a piston, and he has excellent takedown defense to keep the fight exactly where he wants it. He is the betting favorite at -220, and for good reason. Neal has been in the trenches with the best of the best, and he knows how to weather a storm. But Uros Medic is absolute chaos in the best way possible. Medic is an opportunist who thrives on overwhelming his opponents with volume and power. The problem for Medic in this matchup is the technical gap. Medic tends to leave his chin exposed when he throws heavy combinations, and that is a fatal mistake against a sniper like Neal. The key to victory for Uros Medic is to make this incredibly ugly. He cannot stand at kicking range and trade technically with Neal. He needs to force the clinch, dirty box, and make Neal work completely out of his comfort zone. However, Geoff Neal has proven time and time again that if you give him an inch of space, he will put your lights out. I anticipate Medic rushing in early, trying to impose his will and catch Neal cold while the crowd is roaring. But Neal's footwork and counter-striking are just too sharp to fall into that trap. I see Neal finding his range midway through the first round, slipping a wild punch from Medic and landing a devastating counter left hand. I am locking in Geoff Neal by first-round knockout in an absolute highlight reel finish. And now, it is time for the main event of the evening, a 5-round middleweight war with massive title implications. The former champion and current number 3 ranked contender, Sean Strickland, goes to war against the number 4 ranked human buzzsaw, Anthony "Fluffy" Hernandez. This is the classic styles make fights matchup. Let's start with Sean Strickland. Strickland is a master of distance management and defensive boxing. He marches forward, hiding behind that Philly shell, parrying shots, and stinging you with a high-volume jab. He weaponizes his cardio, drowning opponents in a sea of basic but incredibly effective striking. He is walking into Houston as the underdog at plus 225, which is wild for a former champ who holds a win over Israel Adesanya. But that underdog status is entirely due to the nightmare standing across from him. Anthony Hernandez is on an 8-fight win streak and is currently a minus 285 favorite. Hernandez does not just wrestle, he chain wrestles with a relentless pace that physically breaks professional fighters. He recently submitted Roman Dolidze, proving his grappling translates seamlessly to the elite level. The dynamic here is clear. Strickland wants to keep this on the feet, pop the jab, and force Hernandez to gas out trying to secure takedowns. Hernandez wants to crash the distance, drag Strickland to the mat, and lock in a submission. Strickland's takedown defense is notoriously fantastic, but Hernandez does not need a clean double leg. He just needs to grab a hold of you, put his full weight against you, and start scrambling. The key to victory for Strickland is lateral movement. If he backs straight up, Hernandez will run him over. Strickland needs to circle off the cage and punish Hernandez with uppercuts on the entries. For Hernandez, the key is pure, unyielding chain wrestling. If the first shot fails, he must immediately transition to the body lock and keep Strickland carrying his weight. This is an incredibly tough one to call, but I believe the grappling pressure of Hernandez is going to be the deciding factor over 25 minutes. Strickland will stuff the early takedowns and win the early striking exchanges, but by the championship rounds, the relentless pace of Hernandez will drain the former champ's gas tank. I am officially predicting Anthony Hernandez by 4th-round submission to secure his shot at middleweight gold. What a card this is shaping up to be. Let me know your picks in the comments below. That wraps up our preview for UFC Houston. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, don't forget to keep those hands up.
What's up, everybody? This is Ensign Inoue, and you're listening to the FiteHaus podcast. Right on.